daytime celebration. Freak out to the boogie of the grooving. Gotta get your moves on. Let yourself go crazy. Look out, there's a beast in your soul. You're out of control. It's an animal inside you. A little bit of dancing, a little romance, and now your time has come to party. It's a jiggle wiggle party. It's a jiggle wiggle wiggle. It's a jiggle wiggle Friday. Party now. It's a jiggle wiggle party. Oh, it's a jiggle wiggle wiggle. It's a jiggle wiggle Saturday night. You feel another happy hour coming on now. You're emancipated. Reach out to the rhythm of the music, pounding in your brain now. Got your soul insane, and you feel the heat coming on. You feel that someone, attraction's burning deep down in the middle of your soul. That's when you know your time has come to party. It's a jiggle wiggle party. It's a jiggle wiggle wiggle. It's a jiggle wiggle Friday. Party now. It's a jiggle wiggle party. Oh, it's a jiggle wiggle wiggle. It's a jiggle wiggle Saturday night. Party now. It's a jiggle wiggle party. Oh, it's a jiggle wiggle wiggle. It's a jiggle wiggle Saturday night. Party now. It's a jiggle wiggle party. Oh, it's a jiggle wiggle wiggle. It's a jiggle wiggle Saturday night. You feel the heat coming on. Feel that someone, attraction's burning deep down in the middle of your soul. That's when you know your time has come to party. It's a jiggle wiggle.
All right, good morning. Good morning, YouTube. Here we are.
It's a jiggle wiggle Friday. Party now. It's a jiggle wiggle.
It is Thursday, September 11th, 2025. Welcome to the New York session. All right, let's do this. Let's get this going. How about some lights, camera, and action? Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right. Oh, we aren't all set up here yet, are we? Let's see what we need to do here. We need to change the stats panel. Haven't been on for a few days. Okay. There we go. Now let's bring the music down and start getting a little focused here. All right. And I need to get the live stream up on the site, so bear with me just a moment. Oh, come on. What's going on here? There we go. Here we come. Sorry, this is just going to take a minute. We get so many things running here on the system that everything slows down. Hopefully we're not going to lose bandwidth here. pause one of these, so there we go. At least we're not sucking up more bandwidth than we need to. Got a number of things sucking up bandwidth in the house this morning, not just what's going on here with my trade station. Getting some movement here on the chart. Oh, come on. Okay, so today is another opportunity for us to be disciplined and professional traders, as we always are. Not as we always are, that is not true in my case. I have tilted a couple of times recently, but that is behind me now. Okay, we are live on the BarcelonaTrader.com. And we're going to put up the chat panel in case you have anything you want to chat with me about. I try to answer questions and address concerns as we go along. There we go. Okay. Let's start looking at the charts and seeing what we have going on. All right, it looks like price is sitting just above the DS1 pivot, which is this purple dotted line going through right here, and just below the DM2, which is this yellow dotted line right up here. So we're actually really hugging the DM2. Price is actually just slightly below, the DS1. Sorry, the price is just slightly below it right now. We're looking at it here on a 1 minute chart. On the 5 minute chart, let's look at the dollar. Dollar has been going up gradually overnight. Came back down. We've been pretty steady though right here. And this downtrend right here is really just, you know, one of these little blue candles right here on the 30 minute chart with all, you know, it looks like almost no movement. Well, I guess we had the wick all the way down and then it came back up. So we came down and then came back up. Now we are again right here. Okay, and the bond has been pretty flat, it looks like. The VIX still in the normal range. All right, we are looking at a bit of a downtrend right now. Coming up on some supports here on MT4. So, let's settle in. Let's see when we're going to get some trades. Meantime, let's put the Zoom room up in case we're going to get Tono to come on a little bit later. He's dealing with some stuff this morning, so we might not see him for a little while. But at least we'll have the Zoom room open. Okay, now let's settle in. Lights off. Let's change this camera angle. And there we are. Need to put that music back in my headphones, don't I? See where I need to do that. Okay. Reduce the echo a little bit in the microphone. All right, on the downside, it's looking like we don't have a trade until we get below, I want to say, 36.11. Something like that. Actually, we might have a short trade here. Just a very short one, though. Let's see. Let's let it simmer a little bit. I want to get a little bit more feel for the market before I take a trade. Get a little bit more feel for how it's moving. Okay. a little bit of room for it to come, I think. Maybe not. Downward is the direction of travel right now. My bandwidth is messing me up a little bit here. Alright, I don't really like the way we're moving here, so I think I will get out the next opportunity it gives me, if it does give me one. $90, 130, 110, 130. I'll take the 120. Okay. There we go. Good trade. Good trade to start out the morning. Alright, I need to bring up my notepad because I like to take notes by hand. I like to journal by hand when we're while I'm trading. I do that because, hang on, there's my template right there. One of the tells about whether I'm staying calm, cool, and collected while I'm trading is the quality or lack thereof of my handwriting. All right, so today is September 11th, 2025. 24 years since the horrific attacks on the World Trade Center in New York. Okay. Now remember, what we look for in terms of our entries are what I like to call leapers. So regardless of the play, regardless of the type of trade, and just to be clear, the type of trade that we just took there is what I like to call an aragó. Aragó, named after a large thoroughfare street in Barcelona, where if you catch one of the traffic lights in green and you time it right, you're going the right speed, you could catch them green all the way through. So, but if you don't catch them right, then you're stopping at the various traffic lights as you go along. And so that is kind of the way I envision this trade. You come up to a support like we were right here. You get the green light and you begin going through, and you take it, as far as you can, until you get to the next stoplight, which is what we did here at 120, 130 in profit, and you get out. And so I call this trade the Argo, which we took, and it was a good trade. Okay. What time did we take that trade? All right, we took this trade at 7:41. Let's change our stats panel too. I forgot to talk about the leapers. I'll come back to that in just a minute. Okay. I've just journaled that trade. Now let's go back and talk about leapers for a second here, okay? So, regardless of what type of trade we're taking, in order for us to get in, it has to be a clean level. So let's go back here to this trade, which took place right here, okay? So we got in, this trade lasted, by the way, let's see how long it lasted. This trade lasted about a minute, no, excuse me, about 3 minutes, and yeah, just over 3 minutes, about 3 minutes and 5 seconds. So we got in here on this down arrow, right here. And oh, sorry, you can't see it because I have the leapers thing up. So let me get that down and show you what's going on here. Okay, so we got. I'll make this a little bit bigger so we can see it. All right. We got in right here. See I can make my mouse big. Yeah, jiggle it. We got in. Ooh, big, right there. On this red down arrow. We got in here. Each one of these candles is 10 seconds. So we were at this clean level. Excuse me, no. We had broken through this clean level. This down candle here and this wick showed that it was breaking through this level. I believed at this time that this was going to happen, what eventually happened over here. It was just going to push on through. That isn't what happened. I was wrong on the timing, and price kind of hovered around here. It kind of pushed down again. It showed me about $10 of profit, maybe $20 of profit right here. And I thought, no, this has more momentum to it. I'm going to let it go further, but it didn't. It bounced back up. It came up here. It almost hit my stop loss twice, once here, then another time here. I think it went $100 against me, and my stop loss is $120, so it gave me very little room to wiggle there. But it did show, and I was continuing to see that that gold was weaker than the dollar. Continued to kind of diddle around here, and then it started to push down again. Rejected, pushed down again, showed me maybe $20, $30 of profit, and then eventually, boom, came down through here. Came down again, showed me about $130 of profit here, but I let the wick come back up. Should have gotten out, but you don't know if it's going to continue to push through and show you $150, $160. But when it came back up and stopped at 120, came back to 130, then back to 120, I said, okay, I think this is bottomed out, and I got out of the trade. So you just kind of have to learn where, get a feel for how gold moves and begin to get a feeling for, okay, I see one on my other chart over here on MetaTrader 4. I see that, okay, we are out of, we're hitting a support. So there isn't a lot of further room for it to go down unless it just has a lot of momentum behind it. So that was the best place to get out. And sure enough, off of that support, it popped up. And now we're far above where it would have stopped me out. Of course, there's probably been, if I were feeling really aggressive this morning, there's probably been, a couple of trades to the upside to take at this point. But again, we do see over here on FX Blue that gold is significantly weaker than the dollar. So I'm feeling cautious. I don't want to counter trend. So we're just going to wait for our next best setup. Who knows how long that will take, but it doesn't matter. Because like I said, we're disciplined and professional in our trading. We do have 8:30 news today. We have some inflation report coming out, CPI, I believe. Let me just check. Yeah, CPI and core CPI, Consumer Price Index. All right, we have 1 minute for the 8 o'clock candle. Might get another downward trade here. Not going to take it. It's we're going too heavily into a support here. I miscalculated how much run room we had. All right, so CPI released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It was looking like with our last inflation release a few days ago, which was the PPI, I believe, or the PMI perhaps, the Purchasing Managers Index. What did we have? I can't remember. This was last week, so I have to go back to last week to remember what that was. But inflation came out a little bit lower than what was projected, even though the jobs report was bad. So I think if inflation comes out lower again than expected, that will increase the likelihood of a 50 basis point rate cut next week when the Fed announces their new interest rates. That will send gold higher today if that does work out that way. We had gold move up a bit here, a little aggressively right on that 8 o'clock. But, in the grand scheme of things, just a couple of dollar points, not that much, and it's coming right back down. So, kind of no reaction there for that 8 o'clock candle. A little more volume in the market than there was. are seeing convergence between the dollar, between the strength of the dollar and the weakness of gold. Gold is strengthening, the dollar is weakening, so we are seeing the gold price move up a bit now. If that trend continues, we may be reversing the trend here in the New York session, which just started at 8 o'clock, where I like to call the start of the New York session. Okay, we are pushing up here. I'm hesitant because we're pushing right up into refresh, come on. Well, we're pushing right up into a pivot right here. This is the DS1. It acted as resistance here. It was acting as support here. So we can assume there's still going to be some resistance there. Continuing to see convergence here. We are right at that pivot now, so I'm going to hold off. Okay, we're pushing through that. Let's see if we get above this swing high here. What else do we have standing in our way? Not too much. Got another resistance here. After that resistance, which we may probably have a little way to trade between here and there. Well, I don't know. That's a little tight. It's a little tight to be comfortable that we've moved past this pivot before we get into the trade, and then we run right into this support, or right into this resistance, excuse me. So I think we'd want to let it get to about here, 24 or so, with a little momentum to get in, and then maybe there's a trade to be had up to 36.30, which is the DM2. All right, it is 8:12. Our next milestone is 8:20 with the opening of the COMEX exchange. And then we have 8:30, which is not only the 30-minute candle, it is also the release of the CPI data, the news. And so that will certainly drive price one way or the other. What we're going to do, now it looks like we have the European main refinancing rate coming out in just 1 minute and 50 seconds. Well, that usually this is the new European interest rate, expected to remain the same at 2.15%. So probably isn't going to affect too much, but if they do change that, then there will certainly be some price movement even in gold, even though it doesn't directly affect the dollar. It affects how expensive or how cheap it is for Europeans to buy the dollar and then in turn buy gold. So we have 1 minute for that. So, excuse me, I said our next milestone was 8:20. It's actually 8:15 in 55 seconds. go. We're expecting that number right now. I don't see it on the screen yet. Certainly some people know it. And doesn't seem to be doing much with the gold price right now. Must have been maintained the same, which would already have been priced into the market. Yep, 2.15%. Exactly the same. That's what was expected. Everybody had that priced in already. No real impact on the market. All right, while we wait for the next one. I'll be right back. All right, getting a little downward movement again here, aren't we? Do I want to take this? I might. We push through this support here. That's another break of a clean level. Yeah, looking for a clean level, a real push, the right session. We are in the right session, and a safe leash. All right, that did not work out that way. But if I were to take this back the other way, I call that play a Montjuic. And we would go back up, but I don't see enough strength to do that either. And I'm not interested in taking that trade this morning. I'm interested in taking only one kind of trade, that is the Argo, because I am in low risk mode, cautious mode. Well, that trade would have worked out, but again, not my trade this morning. I don't feel any FOMO about that. All right, it is coming up on 8:20. Let's see if we have momentum to push further up. was the COMEX open right there. Nice little move up there. Saw a little zip in its step, but it hit a resistance and didn't have the volume to push through. Oh, there it goes. Now it's getting some Wheaties. I'm not going to take it because it's a little tempting, but there's a swing high right here on the 1 minute chart. It's going to run into right away. Right there. It's good for a short little trade, but you know, too unpredictable. I could not have predicted that it was going to move like that. Let's see how it does if it gets through this swing low. Again, we have to take into consideration that we are, 9 minutes away from inflation news. So a lot of traders are cautious, holding back, waiting to see what happens with that news before they get in. And so that limits how far price can travel before that time, unless there's another catalyst that's moving it. I think it was right about now, 24 years ago, that the first tower was hit. All right, so it is 8:22. And we're getting another push up here through swing high. So see what it wants to do. Pushing right into a resistance. I don't know, it just doesn't feel great. All right, we'll give it a little shot here. There we go. That bear volume. That's why I got out. Didn't think it was going to push through that. But it did, and we see that on the 1 minute chart, it went up to hit this bear volume here. So they weren't exactly in the same place. But now we're starting to see price come down. So I'm happy with that trade. That was a good trade. How about a little confetti? All right, let's update the stats. All right, I want to journal that trade. I think that was 823. Took that. Thought I got a little bit more than that, but I ended up taking 100. Thought we got 110, but got slipped a little bit. Could have taken that down. Could have taken that back down. But again, I'm in caution mode. And that wasn't my trade. All right, yeah, we got 100 across the board there. All right, we have 3 minutes for news. Let's see what we have here. Should we give Bloomberg a little airtime here? Let's lower the music. We have 1 minute for the news.
Speed. Nobody covers Jobs Day like Bloomberg. It's the world's second largest economy with a growing influence in global affairs. Bloomberg The China Show brings you the unmatched expertise you need to keep track of breaking news, in-depth market analysis, and the most influential newsmakers in and around China.
We need to do more to engage the market more. We're risk on. I think we caught a little sweet spot.
Massive
10 seconds for the news.
It's already a different game.
Bloomberg The China Show. Weekdays around the world, right here on Bloomberg. Context changes everything.
Here we go. Oh, look at that whipsaw.
Inflation data just around the corner. Equity futures, your scores going into it look like this. Positive by 0.2% on the S&P, up by 0.3%.
Oh, looks like we're as expected, as expected.
Up by 0.3%.
Oh, CPI up 0.4% from 0.3%, so a little more inflation than we were expecting.
Look like this. Your 2-year bond yield so far this morning at 355.19, yields higher by about a basis point. With your inflation data, let's cross over to Mike McCready. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, gentlemen. We've got a hotter than expected reading as CPI on a month-over-month basis rises 0.4%, 0.3 as expected for the core. The year-over-year rate goes to 2.9% from 2.7%.
Spot seems to be reacting more than futures right now.
The core rate goes to 3.1%, stays at 3.1%, we should say. The other number out just now, initial jobless claims, big jump there, 263,000 last week. Don't have the previous revised number, but the unrevised number was 237.
I think we're
a significant movement there.
I think we're going up.
Continuing claims 1,939,000.
How far?
That's
the
drop
question.
From 1,940,000.
It really looks like spot
those are a week behind, so
has reacted much more aggressively than futures has.
Unemployment insurance filings for the month for the previous week. In terms of what we got here, index for energy was up 0.7%. There have been concerns about the
I'm not ready to take a buy here
AI
yet.
Power plants are raising prices to try to pay for all the power that
Even though I do think
need.
that's our direction of travel here.
Increased 0.5%. That's going to be a political problem for the president. Food at home up 0.6%. Airline fares, used cars, trucks, apparel, new vehicles all rose. I'll get you those figures in just a moment.
Spot definitely has taken off more than
For
futures.
services is something that we are concerned about, and services less energy. The core services rate was up 0.3%. That's a little bit of a decline from 0.4
really
last month, which scared
spot
overall
compared to futures, just
economists. But still, this
reacting the
number
same
is
way.
something to write home about for the Fed. Probably not enough to dissuade them from, or to persuade them to do 50 basis points or dissuade them from 25. But it is still a higher number than forecast.
Mike McKee, I'll get to the markets.
So
We'll come
Bloomberg
back to you
here
in
is
just a
saying
moment. Stay
that
close. So we've got a bit of tension here. Small upside surprise on headline CPI, but a big upside surprise. The wrong kind of upside surprise on jobless claims. What wins out, you decide. I don't have a view, but the chairman does. The chairman of the Federal Reserve has told you that the labour market is the thing that he's focused on right now. So push that view through the bond market at the moment, and we're trading on claims. Yields are down at the front end of the curve by 6 basis points, 348. The dollar's weaker, euro dollar back through 117. Equities positive, Bramo, by 0.25%.
Yeah, if you take a look at the 4-week moving average of initial jobless claims, they came in at the highest pace going back to June, but the fastest pace of increase in that metric going back to December of 2020.
Yeah, I don't like this.
To the extent that we saw downward revisions, the labor market very much front and center for the market. What I would suggest is this is a market that is gaming out a longer-term weakness in the labor market that suppresses yields across the curve. This isn't just the front end. I think that is telling you something.
Mike McKee, you've got a second look. What do you see?
Well, right now,
very
we're
different
looking
movement
at
in
new car
spot.
prices up by 6%, according to
Took a
this.
loss
No,
there.
that's used car prices. I'm sorry. New car prices up by 0.7%. So big rise in new car prices, but an even bigger rise in used car prices. That's been in the wholesale data for a while. Apparel prices were flat after falling 0.3% last month, so maybe a little bit of the tariff impact is hitting there. Remember yesterday, retail and wholesale margins compressed, suggesting that some of that is being absorbed by middle people. Gasoline prices were down 6.6% now on a year-over-year basis, down 0.7%. In terms of down 1.7%, I'm sorry, in terms of the month-over-month numbers, and that didn't keep us from getting a much higher rate of inflation for the headline.
Mike McKee, appreciate the update. Michael, thank you. Joining us now is Tiffany Wilding of PIMCO. Tiffany, welcome to the programme. Is there a stagflationary-like mix coming together here on the data that you see?
Yeah, so I think we're getting what we expected on inflation. We're getting some pass-through of tariffs. It looks like it's predominantly the firming categories are in goods, and otherwise things look a little bit better. I think the more concerning news from the data this morning is the jump in claims. It's been relatively contained despite the labor market, really slowing to a halt over the last year. And now the jump today looks a little bit more concerning. Like we're moving out of just a period of very little activity or very little hiring or firing, to potentially some more separations. And that's going to be super concerning, I think, for the Federal Reserve. I agree with Mike McKee. I think overall the data this morning, I think, confirms a 25 basis point cut. There's probably going to be discussion around 50, although that's not our base case. And I think there's reasons if you continue to see this kind of momentum.
All right, I'm going to stop that. Spot and futures are moving very differently from one another. We are going to continue going up. Let's just be cautious, be cautious, be cautious. What is going on? I mean, these are just not moving alike at all. Never seen this before, except a couple of days ago. It was seriously moving. Spot and futures were moving very differently from one another. Keep coming down. I'll get out there. So we're going back up now? Is that what's happening here? Why is this moving so differently from spot now? Again. It's just completely different. Spot is coming down. Did not go up the way that futures just did. This is absolutely confusing. Got a little bit further of a downward push to it, I believe. Spot's moving down, and futures is moving up again. What in the world? Continuing to drop. I think it has a little more to go. But you know, who knows? This is insane. Take that. I'm in the green on that account, but wow, I mean, spot is going up, futures is going down. This is wild. All right, well, we are back in the green on the main account. Just let that sink. Question is that the move? Are we done? just can't trust this this move at all. Ones am I resetting? Let's see. All right, so I am up above where I need to be. So that has worked out really well. I've got a couple of really nice trades here. I took, let's see what we took here. We took a 444 loss, a 70 gain, a 549 loss, but then a gain of 50, a gain of 390, and a gain of 670. All right, just setting my trade copier back up. All right, we have 1 minute for the 9 o'clock candle. And we might try to take a trade here. Thirty seconds. There's 9 o'clock right there. We heading back up. No real movement here. It sure looked like we were going up there. Yeah. Not sure how much I got out with there. It exited me a little bit late, I guess 70. Let's go up for a little bit more. All right, let's see where we are here. All right. We probably are going up, going to continue to go up a little bit. Okay, spot and futures seem to be moving in tandem again. Okay, let's see. All right, let's go. Come on. All right. Nope. I'll adjust my stats panel in a minute. I'm focused here on perhaps another trade. Ah, come on. Don't do that. Don't like the way it's moving. Come on. All right, I'm just going to get out of that. Again, it's moving differently than a spot. Okay, I'm gonna go again. Come on. Keep coming. You got room. All right, I'm just gonna wait. going. More. 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 One. You got more. All right, I'm getting out. More. Okay. Coming up here on a support, so I don't want to mess with that. Well, hell damn. No. Oh, come on. Gimme. Don't do that. Don't do that. Come on, gimme. Ah, you motherfucker. Volume has really dropped off here. Sam? Sam? Hey, we're coming up on 10. Volume has really tapered off. Might not have anything left in the tank here. One minute for 10 o'clock. There it is, 10 o'clock. Dicey. All right, let's give it a little go. Should have taken that 100. Come on, it's gonna go. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. We're done for the day. We are done for the day.